Garcia. Stephen will love this. Eric served our country over in the Middle East and down along the southern border, and he got to hold the big boys. Stephen, we know you like the big boys. Eric now, of course, is serving our financial futures with Edward Jones. Eric Ponder and Edward Jones, edwardjones.com to find old EP and have him get things right for your family and your future. This guy's got a pretty special family himself. 3 kids, got a wife. He's got a shirt on today. Stephen Garcia joining us to talk ball. What's up, man?
Not a whole lot, man. The wife has put me to work right now, as you can tell.
Well, at least you're not yeah, you'd probably rather be tarpon fishing. How'd it go last week?
Oh, my God. Awesome. Yeah. It's tough to beat. Let me plug this thing in real quick.
Okay. Well, we'll just wait.
It never ends, man. It never ends. It never ends. You know what? To hell with it. I'll do it later.
No, you're good. You're good. Do what you need to do, man. We're fine. Stephen, it's been a few days, hasn't it? You know, Carolina, I think, is still hopefully the football team has moved on quicker than the fans. They absolutely got hosed on Saturday on multiple calls. Certainly some of them were correct, but a lot of them just flat weren't, and a lot of it was missed. Yeah, how do you I don't remember. I'm trying to remember during your career if there was a game that was similar to this, and I can't recall one, but how do you, as a player, how do you just buckle up, button up, and move on?
I mean, I don't know. I was talking with Pat and the Tailgate Talks guys, and I mean, I think Pat was saying that it's the most penalized game in college football in the last 20 years or something like that.
Wouldn't be shocking.
Yeah, I was like, holy hell. So that's tough, man. That's a tough break for sure. We had no business losing that game, but at the same time, when you let a team like that kind of stick around for a little while, it's hard to make those plays happen. But we had our shot, we had our chances, several times. Just got to capitalize on it.
We can go back and forth on whether we liked the call or didn't like the call. If you were quarterback Stephen Garcia and you loft a pick into the corner of the end zone like that, and then you attempt to run and maybe try to make a play and you get shoved to the ground, are you calling for a flag there like Garrett Nussmeier was?
Probably not.
Do you think that should be a penalty?
No, not at all.
Why?
But I mean, it's just, what do you mean?
Why? I'm just curious to hear, so people hear it from you as a quarterback. Why should that not be a penalty? Why? I mean, I don't understand.
I think you ask anybody on this planet that actually watches football, that neither one of those. I mean, I could see maybe the horse collar, maybe the ref, maybe thought he saw something, but the guy clearly grabbed the front of his jersey. I think that it's insane that refs can literally change the outcome of a game. And then the blocking, the one where he pushed the hell out of Garrett. I mean, there's no doubt about it, but he threw a pick. He's pursuing the guy that intercepted it. Yeah. I mean, you're a football player, dude. Like, I almost cussed. Keep your freaking head on a swivel. Yeah. It's like, what are you doing? So I just think it's kind of the way the nation's going, man. Everybody's softer than baby shit.
Well, I was listening to David Pollock yesterday, and David Pollock said, look, I broke my neck playing football. and I think this is insane what we're doing in protecting these quarterbacks. If they're going to be treated like this isn't fair to the sport. It's not fair to the fans. It's not fair to the players. I mean, again, there's 2 arguments here. One, do we agree with the rulings or not? And 2, was it, by the letter of the law, was it a penalty? I mean, there's multiple penalties that you can pull from to get the flag that they threw. And we actually might got a referee on, Dennis O'Keefe, on Monday, and he called the 2 additional flags that came flying. He called them Me Too flags because he saw one fly, and then the other guys were like, "Oh, the hell with it. We'll toss ours as well," because the quarterback's laying on his back and he's crying, and here's a big 6'5", 260-pound dude standing over him. To your point, Kennard did not get a running start. He didn't hit him with his helmet. He didn't tackle him. He just shoved him, and he landed.
Didn't put his shoulder into him. Literally, just I mean, obviously he's a big dude, strong dude. That's what they're paid to do. But like you said, he didn't head start. He literally just shoved him. So yeah, I think it's beyond ridiculous. But that's kind of the world we're in right now.
Yeah, I don't know. The way that football's gone, I don't anticipate anything going backwards. I mean, did you see the hit? Did you see the Georgia linebacker tackle Brock Vandegrift from Kentucky on Saturday night, and he got flagged for that? Did you see it?
No.
Steven, you can't design. This is how you teach tackling.
Yeah.
I mean,
and
didn't hit him with his helmet. Helmet went inside the ribs, didn't even touch him, went to the side of the body. He wrapped him up. The kid's 6'4", 250 pounds, and he tackled him, and they threw a flag because he drove him to the ground for unnecessary roughness and a personal foul. And he's like, "What do you want me to do? I mean, I can't. What do you want?" The guy and he had the ball in his hand.
That's what I'm saying. Do they want these guys to just like politely like usher him down? I mean, I don't get it. Or just let him throw. Just let him throw.
Well, I think that's where we are. I think that's why people are frustrated. I know Shane Beamer mentioned yesterday he was pleased with some of he sent in a ton of plays, him and Coach Tanner. Some of the responses he agreed with. He said some he'll agree to disagree with the SEC commissioner, chief of officiating, John McDay. But, the game's over. They can't change the outcome. They are going to have to move on. Specifically,
can I ask just one call, which I thought was the most the one that I was completely floored by, because I wasn't shocked that a flag was called on the other two, just based on what they're focusing on now. And I hate the rule, but it's clearly treat quarterbacks different than every other player on the field.
For sure.
But the phantom offensive pass interference call, Stephen, I've looked at it 30 times. I don't see it, and it's nowhere near the play, had no impact on the play, and I don't think it was right, even if it was right next to the play. So what did you see there?
I saw the same thing you did. Absolutely nothing. It's severely baffling, and those are game altering, calls. And it just sucks, man. These kids busted their ass for 4 quarters, and putting up a huge fight, playing well against the number 18 ranked team, and then have this phantom call when obviously there's no pass interference, nobody's even near them. It's beyond confusing. But some, as people say, people think that LSU always pays the refs when they play against us, because there's always some sort of referee interaction with the Carolina players.
Well, one of them was on your show last week. That should have been. Look, if you're throwing flags on Kyle Kennard, what happened to you in 2008? That's a flag.
For sure.
They had to throw the flags because none of them are man enough to shoulder up number 5 on the team nowadays, like they did back in the day there, Stephen. So that's what it is.
For sure. Speaking of number 5, man, Rocket Sanders is a freaking moose. I didn't realize how big he was.
Yeah.
And when he gets in the open field, you realize why they call him Rocket, right? He is something.
That was impressive. I mean, there was a lot of good things that I saw this past weekend, and I think it inspired a lot of Gamecock fans and gave us a little bit more hope than I think we had anticipated going after the ODU game.
What else? What a lot of good things. You say a lot of good things from week 1 to week 3. Where have you, offensively speaking, where have you seen the improvement?
The run blocking, everybody was firing off the ball. I mean, maybe just because it was game day and everybody was fired up. Obviously, it's a ranked game and everything else. But I think they just looked a lot more crisp, especially in the run blocking. I thought Lenore's played extremely well, minus the pick that he threw. But yeah, I thought he played a very, very good, half of football, and hopefully his ankle heals up right. But I mean, even the backup guy, I thought he made some damn good plays. So yeah, I mean, I think there's a lot of stuff that we can improve on, like always. But there's definitely some positives to come out of that game.
Stephen, I don't know if you had many of these when you played, where you looked at the other side and you said, yeah, we're going to just have to outplay them because they have the better athletes. I'm just looking around on the field. I think a lot of people nationally assumed, well, Carolina's a nice story and they're home and game day's there, but the athleticism, the overall AQ, athletic quotient, will be in LSU's favor. I didn't get that sense at all watching that game. I think Carolina, athlete to athlete, 1 through 85, belonged on the field, and again, stood toe to toe with them for 4 quarters.
100%. I mean, it's you look. Yeah, as you said. I mean, you look at lineman to D lineman. I mean, I thought everybody definitely stacked up well. But I mean, that's a attribution of Coach Beamer and recruiting hell of an athletic guys. So yeah, that's a very good observation. I never, to answer your question, I never really looked across the field and thought that the other guys had better athletes. I mean, we had some freaking dogs on those squads.
No, you played in the right era to not have to worry about. There's some guys before you and since you that
sure.
would probably say, yeah, when we looked over at Alabama or Georgia, we knew we were going to have to play our best game, win the turnover battle just to overcome the athletic deficiency. But I don't think that's the case with this year's team and most of the games they're going to play.
I agree. Yeah, that's a very good observation.
I get a few every now and then.
Don't butter him up, Stephen. You know better than another thing, and we'll come back to this later. Is I want to get Stephen some real quarterback stuff here in just a second. But another thing that John reported on Sunday night, which was or not Sunday night, Monday night, which is literally just an astound. The SEC, when it comes to officiating, should be as ashamed of this. Honestly, I'm not kidding. Should be as ashamed of this as anything. You have 13 new officials in the league this year, and you put 4 of them in that game on Saturday for their first SEC game. What a joke. I mean, that's embarrassing. Half of the crew has never done a league game before, and they're out there just tossing flags wherever they feel like and not throwing them. They didn't know what the hell they were doing. That's why it was so bad. But anyways, so you mentioned Robbie Ashford. You and Mike mentioned Robbie Ashford. Let's get into Robbie for a second, because something that really caught my attention when he was pressed into action on Saturday was the fact that when he gets out of the pocket, he's pretty good at throwing the football. Like, he seems really comfortable there, doesn't he, Stephen?
Absolutely. I mean, he's a veteran guy. He's been in the SEC for a while, so I mean, I don't think that scares him one bit. But I'd like to answer your question and to prove to add on to your point. When he escapes the pocket, he's not looking to run. He's keeping his eyes downfield and trying to find an open receiver, and that's something you don't see a whole lot of. When it comes to running quarterbacks. So I mean, I think that's a huge plus.
So what do you think if I don't know if Sellers is going to go this week? I think that is very much up in the air right now, especially with an off week coming, and then you got the Rebels coming to town. You know you're going to score points to beat those guys. Right. So we'll see if he can go. But the anticipation is that no matter whether he can or can't, Robbie Ashford is going to play football this weekend. And now that we've seen Linares go down twice in 3 games, probably going to want to keep this cat ready to go.
For sure.
You're not going to – Stephen, I'm not a big believer in that. I've never called plays, and I sure as hell never was given the reins to an SEC football program as a quarterback like you were for 4 years, at least in the fall, not in the spring. But we'll come back to that another time. So I don't know how to call plays, but I do know this. It seems a little bit different when Ashford is in there from when Sellers is in there. Is that good? Like, don't you feel like they're going to have some sort of a system that's not one-dimensional when Robbie Ashford comes in? And if so, like, what out of your 2 eyes, what have you seen that would help him the most?
I've never called plays either, so I don't know. But they say if you have 2 quarterbacks, you have none. So it's going to be very interesting, moving forward, depending on how Ashford plays. Yeah, I mean, I don't know. I don't know. I think you keep they both have very, very similar, skill sets and style of play. Obviously Linares is a freaking tank. But I mean, Ashford rips the ball. I mean, he can throw the laces off of it, and he made some damn good plays against a pretty good LSU defense.
Let me ask it a little. I'll ask this a little bit differently. Phil, what's the number? They've been sacked through 3 games.
What, 13 times?
13 times.
I want to say 13. Yeah.
I don't put all that on the offensive line,
no,
Stephen,
no.
At all. And but I do think both of these quarterbacks have had an issue with holding on to the football. And if they're going to just,
I mean, I could see Linares kind of holding on the ball just because. I mean, let's think about he's a redshirt freshman. I mean, this is all brand new to him. It's a lot different getting kind of like mop up duty like he did last year as opposed to being the guy, and you got all your guys that are looking at you to make some plays. So it's a lot different. But yeah, I mean, they're definitely holding on the ball a little too long. But I think as he gets more game reps and more experience, that'll change. And I mean, I think, don't they consider a sack if he's like doing like a zone read and he runs the ball? Don't they consider that a sack or no?
And he gets hit behind the line of scrimmage?
Yeah.
Yeah.
If there's a potential for a pass and he gets hit behind the line or at the line, then yes,
that's a sack, right?
A sack. Yeah.
Okay.
So if you call it, let's say, an RPO where there's a
Yeah.
possibility that he might throw it and he gets hit behind the line, then yes, that's a sack. If he just runs straight option, then no, it's just a loss on a running play.
I got you.
So it depends on who the score
it's
is.
just exactly. It depends on who the score is, because I mean, I saw, and everybody saw this past weekend. It was like an RPO type deal, and the announcers even said something. It's like, that's how guys are running option football now. He's out there running around at the last second. He kind of shovels it. I forgot who he shoveled it to. I think it was Rocket or whatever. But I think he was across the line of scrimmage. But I mean, if he gets the sack on that, or I just see what I'm saying. Like, I don't know how you. Yeah. I think every single football play has the potential to be a pass.
Right.
I'm getting sidetracked.
The other weird thing about college ball, and I don't know why they haven't changed this, in the NFL, when you take a sack, it counts as a loss on your passing yardage. In college, it goes against the run.
Yeah.
It goes against the rushing yardage. A sack on an obvious pass play that makes no sense. Never has to me, but they still haven't changed it.
There's a lot of things that don't make sense in football and life in general.
But to your point and to Jamie's point, a lot of these sacks are not on the O-line. I think the O-line held up pretty damn well on Saturday.
I think they've gotten better every week.
100%. And I've been encouraged by it. I mean, let's not forget just how awful this thing was last year. Yeah. Some of it was camouflaged by having an NFL quarterback and Rattler who was able to overcome some of it. But the offense was terrible. You averaged 85 a game rushing. You couldn't run the damn ball. You had no push, and obviously you didn't have a Rocket Sanders type back. So that's vastly improved. And as we talked about before, the defense is vastly improved. If Lenoris plays all 4 quarters, this is not even a conversation because Carolina wins by double digits. He's clearly getting better week to week. He's got to shore up some things. Like you said, Stephen, the redshirt freshman thing shows up at times. And I think you would have been a fool to think it wouldn't. It has. Some of the fumbling is just that can be fixed. The throwing it up, some of the interceptions, that can be fixed. But what you saw there is one of the most explosive quarterbacks in the country. When you saw that run, it's like, oh man,
sure.
That's Jalen Milroe type stuff.
Yeah, no, absolutely. I don't think people realize how fast he is. But yeah, I mean, I was talking to Perry throughout the game, and he's like, "Yeah, man, like we played against him in high school, and the kid just absolutely torched us." So, I think everybody kind of got a glimpse of how athletic he is.
Gamecocks right now, by the way, through 3 games, averaging 165 yards on the ground. That's Mike. They averaged 85 last year. They've doubled it here through 3 games, which is really, really fantastic. I would anticipate that number to probably continuing to hover around there, if not maybe improve a little bit. I think that Rocket Sanders is, Stephen, I think he's kind of getting lathered up now, man. I mean, his vision is really remarkable. I mean, did you see him stop on a dime before he ran into the end zone the other day?
Yeah, absolutely. And I've also noticed that there's actually lanes for him to run through as well. That definitely helps your vision when you have a freaking hole to go through.
That's good. Yeah.
I mean, I saw it several times. I mean, on that long ass run he had, I don't think he even got touched. Same thing with Lenoris. I don't even know if they got touched on those 75-yard runs.
No. On the defensive side, I thought those guys played really well this weekend, and outside of a couple of the penalties that were questionable. They continue to kind of be as advertised. I know a lot of folks with the blind eye will look back and see 36 points and they'll think that they just got blitzed all game long. That's not what happened, Stephen. But I think we do need to understand, right, that this league, I mean, Ole Miss is still on the schedule. Missouri, Alabama. These teams score points. It's not the old days where you give up 13 points a game and that's what's considered a good defense. If you're allowing 24 points per game, you got a pretty good defense in a league that scores a ton of points. Right. But overall, it seems, especially up front, like Kyle Kennard, even with the penalties this weekend, he might be currently, by the stats, he's pretty close. He might be the most disruptive defensive end in college football. I mean, the guy's been a game changer through 12 quarters overall.
For sure. For sure. But yeah, I mean, our schedule is not it's not easy. But I mean, that's, again, we talked about all the time. That's why you played in the SEC. That's why you committed to play at South Carolina. That's why you committed to play in the SEC, and it's the best conference there is. You got to score points and, create turnovers. And that's kind of what South Carolina's done these first couple games is they've scored some points and they've gotten a lot of turnovers.
You know what's interesting, going back to the point that you and Mike were making a minute ago. And I get it. Ole Miss is scary, and we're going to talk about Ole Miss, Mike and Phil, coming up here in just a minute in the next segment. Ole Miss is scary. Going to Tuscaloosa is absolutely scary. We're going to find out how good Oklahoma is this weekend, right? They got Tennessee coming to town. But to y'all's point about, and Stephen, you said this, to credit to you. You said it boldly multiple times on our program. Pat said it. Perry said it, and John Strickland said it. And none of, it's not like y'all were in communication. It's not like politics where let's come up with a line and everybody say the same thing. Y'all all said this differently. This football team, they look the part. Now, can they play the part? And even with that loss against LSU, I look at the rest of what's on this schedule, and I see the opportunity for still a very, if not very good, maybe even outstanding season. Like they have the football players to do it if they stay healthy and keep getting better.
Yeah, absolutely. I know you talked about Oklahoma and Tennessee. I think Tennessee's going to absolutely beat the brakes off of them.
Do you?
Oh yeah. Tennessee's a problem this year. Tennessee is a major problem. I know a lot of people don't like Heupel. I freaking love him. He's been awesome to me even when he was recruiting me in high school. So we go way back, and I still talk to him to this day. So I'm a Heupel guy. But yeah, I think with what we've seen, especially the last two games, it's definitely given South Carolina Nation a huge hope for that we have a much better team and a much better season than I think after the ODU game. Everybody's kind of like, damn, here we go again. We may be lucky to win 4 games this year. So I think now a lot more people are optimistic, and I think for good reason. I think these guys are starting to gel. Hopefully Lenoir's is maybe not back this week, but moving forward and then getting that grueling 3-game stretch. He's back to 100% healthy, and these guys are ready to rock and roll, because that's an MFer of a schedule, those next 3 games after this bye week that they have after Akron.
Heupel recruited you at Oklahoma?
Yep.
I mentioned this the other day, 10 years ago. It's a 10-year anniversary. He was fired as the OC at Oklahoma, which, I mean, think about that. It's your national championship quarterback. He had a good rep as a play caller. Things start to go south, and Bob Stoops fires him. You said you keep in touch with him. What was that conversation like 10 years ago?
We didn't bring that up. Never talked about that.
Well, what'd you think when it happened? I mean,
I don't know. That would have been, I guess, yeah, I would have been gone by then, but yeah, that's kind of wild. I mean, he's definitely done well for himself in the offensive category.
And I'm with you. I think Tennessee's a beast right now. I think they're an absolute beast.
I mean, obviously, you don't have all day to like break down their offense. That's not really what I'm getting at here. But when you watch Tennessee's offense, and it all starts with the quarterback, I understand that. But when you watch their offense, Stephen, like in your term or your words, like why is it so lethal? Like, what is it about that makes it do what it does?
I think between them and Ole Miss, just everybody flies. I mean, there's guys that are wide open. Everyone has just massive amounts of urgency on their offense. They are fast tempo. Obviously, they got two of the best play callers in college football with Kiffin and Heupel. So, I mean, it's just a combination of athletes and coaching, and just the coaches getting these athletes to play with just crazy amount of urgency.
And they don't play in the regular season, which is pretty phenomenal. All right, we'll get you out of here in just a second. Akron again. I'll see you Saturday over in Gamecock Park. I've been invited to. I don't know what the hell they need me there for, but I'll be there.
I need a drinking partner, man.
Well, I can handle that side of it, and I'm just here so I don't get fined. But 4:30 in Gamecock Park. Stephen and Pat will be having a little bit of a Tailgate Talks live edition, if you will. Come have there's a few people in this chat box who, if we say, hey, come have a drink with Stephen, they'll be there. So just be prepared.
Yeah.
A couple of folks will probably show up, like old Lance here. Lance will be there.
We need Sherry.
There you go.
Right. Yeah. There. See? Right on cue.
So what's important about this week outside of like winning the football game? Duh, you got to go win the game, but to be able to turn the page, get into the off week, and then you already mentioned that major stretch. Like, what do you think Shane's guys are focusing on trying to get ready for what's to come?
Just stay the course. I think they're playing really good football. That's all you can do is really just stay the course. I think you go in there with Akron and you absolutely light their ass on fire. Kind of send an offensive message, and then you get a bye week, get everybody fresh, and then those 3 games in a row, you take them one game at a time. You can't look past Oklahoma. You can't look past to Missouri, whatever the case may be, whoever you're playing. You're focused on Akron this week, and that's all you're focused on. And then after that, you completely reset, get everybody healthy, and then you're on to Ole Miss, and you are just focused on Ole Miss 100%. Not worried about the next couple of weeks, and you just take it week by week. I mean, that's as cliche as that is. That's what you got to do.
One of the things they need to, regardless of the terrible calls and some of the non-calls, Gamecocks have still had some issues with some pretty silly penalties from time to time. They have got to fix that. The offsides and the false starts and the linemen downfield. Of course, I've rewatched the game now for a third time. Multiple LSU linemen downfield, no flags, which is just, I think it's a dumb rule anyways. But if you're going to call it on this side and you ain't calling it on this side, what are we doing? So
that's a problem for sure.
That's a problem. That's a problem. Look,
hey,
man,
Stephen, are you making any cut.com bets with your listeners on the other show?
Absolutely. Anytime that someone's betting, I'm usually accepting it.
Really? Really?
Usually.
They're making the bet. Okay.
Yeah, usually. I'll throw in some bait every now and then.
Are you taking people's money, or are you paying out here?
Oh, I'm robbing them blind. just Robin Hood out here.
Robin. All right, there you go. You folks out there can get robbed by Stephen Garcia. KUTT.com, promo code Gamecocks, 10% off, and you can go head to head with Garcia, or you can rob him blind and brag about it.
Yeah,
which I'm sure a few people have won.
Oh, absolutely.
What was the one that crushed you last week?
Oh my God, the freaking UCF game.
Oh, the
UCF
1 point.
And TC, God, that was absolutely frustrating as hell. I thought that was absolutely in the bag, and then next thing you know, the guy drives down, throws a freaking dart for KJ Jefferson. Throws a freaking dart, and then they actually drove down and got a chance to kick a field goal, and then freaking blew that. So yeah, that one stung. That one stung bad.
Yeah, they got a hell of a running back too. That little pint-sized bowling ball that Gus has. They're like top 5 in the country in rushing. They'll probably beat Florida by double digits, but anyway.
Yeah,
awesome stuff.
Florida's in trouble.
Are you Mike threw one out at Phil and I earlier, a cut.com bet of Billy Napier and how long he
what's the date? You could make that a bet. I've got a Gamecock one for everybody if you want that too. It's going to be on the Fab 5 tomorrow. Penalties 8.5 Carolina.
Over better be under.
Yeah, need to be under.
I'll lose the money just
to
bet
13 on Saturday. I mean, so it's hardly
8.5. That's a good line right there. I'll have to think about that for a second.
Yeah, I pulled out my Sam Rothstein from Casino on that one. Come up with the right number. Hey, I had 2.5 sacks for Carolina defensively. It wound up being 2. And then the longest pass play, I had 37.5 I set as the number. And Phil, I think what was it, 39 or something? Yeah.
39. Mm-hmm.
39. So
right.
I'm going to go in. I'm going to the Tangiers. I'm going to start setting the lines and running the crap stables over there.
Good luck, man. Good luck.
Yeah, good luck. Yeah.
Good luck. Stephen, we'll see you on Saturday, man. Safe travels to Columbia. Reminder, Tailgate Talks is out today. Stephen, Connor, and Pat. It's available on the Chief Sports app and through GamecocksPlus.com. It's pretty neat to always hear a couple quarterbacks talking ball. So great episode as always, brother. Thank you so much.
Absolutely, guys. We'll see y'all Saturday.
Yes,
Appreciate
sir.
it, Stephen.
Can't
Thanks.
wait. There you go, Stephen Garcia.